Welcome back to Dwarf Fortress with Teemo. I'm going to go over a tutorial here today about the Embark screen. So I've already selected a site and I'm on the Embark screen right here. When you're first starting out, you can just do the play now up in the top left. Start immediately with the default skills, equipment, and animals, and that's fine for learning the game. But I'm going to go in a little tutorial about preparing for the journey carefully about what the screens do and how to use them. So there's three main screens. Up at the top left, you got the dwarves, you got your items, and you got your animals. Even when you prepare carefully, it does start you with certain things for items. So there's kind of basic necessities that will cover a lot of what you're going to need off the start. I wouldn't recommend getting rid of anything that you have here. Just kind of add to it with the 544 points that it gives you. If you get really advanced in the game and you want to try squeezing a few more points out for something, feel free, but I wouldn't recommend that the first few, and I'm not going to do it for this playthrough. So the first screen, dwarves. You've got your 7 starting dwarves. They all start as peasants because you haven't put any skill points. The 10 skill points here just means 10 button clicks over on the right. So each button click reduces it by 1. And each button click increases the level of skill by 1. The most you can put in any one skill, so if I was going to keep clicking on the miner, I get stopped, you see, at 5. So 5 points into something is the most you can get. You're proficient in that skill. The recommendation for me is to get some skills that help you early, such as getting a miner, getting a woodcutter. These kinds of things you're going to want to do, and you actually aren't going to want it for the same person, so that actually was bad. So get 1 miner, get 1 woodcutter. Those 2 skills are very important. I would recommend getting both of those. After that, it really is up to you on what you're going to do. Oftentimes, you're going to create a farm really early, in which case you're going to want to get a planter for planting. So you can start the farming off. You're going to be doing a lot of creating both wood and stone objects. For that, you're going to be getting a carpenter and a mason. So that'll be really good. If you want to start creating weapons or armor right off the bat, either a weaponsmith, a bow, or an armor smith are all good to get. I don't usually create weapons right off the bat. There's not usually a lot of reason to, because what shows up to fight isn't that bad. So unless you're going into a zone, you're playing an advanced game where it's just very dangerous right off the start, you're not really going to need to take any of those. I know it's in the crucial tab, but you're not really going to need it. What I like to take instead is something like a gem cutter. So as soon as you start on an embark, you can start making some value for yourself. So when the first traders show up, you can get it. And then finally, I like to take a dwarf that's going to be able to take care of the management duties. So you're going to want to be organizing and keeping records of stuff. And then I like to put the appraiser there too. That way it can kind of help out with both being your broker and your manager and your bookkeeper. Can kind of do all those things. And then you've got, you see I used all the administrator skill points. For the other 5, I haven't used anything but the first thing I'm going to give them on all of these. So then from here you just kind of look, well, what else might be helpful to take? And for me, for all of these, I'm going to go ahead and just put some combat skills on a couple of these guys. So like my planter, I'm going to make him an axe dwarf, my carpenter, and my mason. I'm going to make all of them some axe dwarves. Just so that if I'll make gem cutter too. So just so that if I need to make a squad early, I've got 4 dwarves now that can use axes, and I can go and fight. For the first 2, the miner and the woodcutter, who are actually going to be doing a lot of work on both mining and woodcutting off the start. For them, I think I will actually give them, for the miner, I'll make them a blacksmith, and then the woodcutter, I will make that person have some brewing so that I can start making some drinks early. And that's how I'll start there. So that's kind of, when you're doing yours, you can pick whatever you want. if you want to start fishing off the start, get a fisher dwarf. Um, if you want to have a start that's a lot more difficult, make sure you take a lot of dwarves with a lot more fighting skills, not just the weapon skill, but you might want to actually take the fighter, dodger, lots of other stuff like that. All right, so now for the rest of it, this 544 is both animals and items combined. I like to go to animals first, spend my animal points, and then see what I can pick up for items afterwards. Um, the Early in the game, you're going to get some creatures that come and are sneaky and can see invisible things. So I recommend getting dogs to see them. Specifically, you'll train those dogs to become war dogs. You can take war dogs right off the bat, but it's an extra 15 points to make a war dog. So I like to just take one female and one male dog, and then I just train them to be war dogs right when I get there, which doesn't take that long at all, and it saves you 30 points on the Embark. And then I also like to take some animals as a source of food. I personally take ducks. If you've seen my other stream, I like ducks. But the most efficient thing to take is actually turkeys. If you want to get both eggs and meat out of it. Turkeys are a large animal. Their eggs are big, and they're a good source of food. But you could take goats. You could take lambs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could take. Some of these bigger animals, like the cows, are good to take for both leather and milk if you want to get a cheese industry going early. If you want to get a leather industry going, you're going to want to take some cows. If you want to start getting cloth going early, then some of the lambs are good to take. Or I guess the ewes and the rams are good to take. So it just depends on what you want to build. So I like to take ducks. And what I'll do for ducks is I'll grab about 5 female ducks and about 2 male ducks. Going back to the items, so there's some tricks you could do. For instance, say you want to get a metal industry coming early. So I've got this one anvil. You need to take one anvil to start stuff. But if I were to buy another anvil, that's 100 points. If instead I want to just take bars, I would have to take 3 iron bars to make an anvil. That's 150 points. So it's actually more expensive to produce an anvil than it is to just buy an anvil. So watch for things like that. Don't take more than you need. A steel bar, for instance, is 150 points. In order to make a steel bar, I'm going to need an iron bar plus a flux plus some fuel to make it into a pig iron bar. Then I'm going to need a pig iron bar plus an iron bar plus that flux and the fuel to make into a steel bar. So again, once I do all that, the steel bars are just cheaper to buy them right off the bat. So if you want to kickstart a steel industry, it's best to just take steel bars. Now these things are expensive at 150 points each. So you're not going to make very many items. It's best to just dig down to steel. So I wouldn't recommend coming here and burning through all your points like this for just 3 steel bars. So just kind of be careful about what you're buying and why you're buying it. You can come in here and grab those 3 steel bars, but you're going to be cutting yourself off on a lot of points. The other thing you want to look at is some stuff comes in bags or comes in barrels. And so food that comes in bags and barrels, every unique thing that you buy will come in its own bag or barrel. So for instance, if you were to take seeds, if you look at the seeds here, you already start with a little bit of everything, but you see how there's 5 of each seed. If you're not really going to use, say, the pigtails, I would still recommend taking the 1 pigtail seed. It'll save you a few points, but that way this gives you an extra bag on your Embark because there's 1 pigtail seed. Same thing goes when you're just looking at other food. Like for instance, I like to take some meats on my Embark. Meats. So with this, I'd like to just come in here and just grab 1 of each. And so this will give me a lot more containers that are storing the meats, and I don't have to buy those containers themselves, because if I go down to barrels cost me 10 points each. If I just buy myself, meat, and I'll get a meat barrel, every single one of these is going to come with a meat barrel, and it only cost me 2 points. So doing stuff like that will save you a lot of points as well. So that's pretty much how this all works. I recommend getting comfortable with this after your first couple of forts. Feel free to come in here and start taking stuff specific to the type of game you want to have. Taking a variety of foods off the start to help make your dwarves happy off the start before you can get disparate food sources coming will really help you out. Same thing with drinks. You get a variety of drinks, also will make your dwarves happy. And then make sure you spend your points on animals first, because what kind of animals you take is very important. Sometimes it's tough and or impossible to get the animals you want after the embark. During the embark, you pick whatever you want. Afterwards, you have to you're at the mercy of whatever shows up. Whereas items, it's a lot easier to get a lot of items later. It's not nearly as bad because you've got so many items coming in from other civilizations. So that's the screens. You just use all your points here, get all your dwarves trained up, and then go ahead and embark. If you really like what you build for a start, if you do it a couple times, or you even like it right off the bat, go ahead and save it so that it's able to be selected on the loading screen next time you play. Thanks for coming. Feel free to leave comments if there's anything you'd like to see or any questions, and I'll answer them. Have a great day.